Zacchaeus was a wee little man, and a wee little man was he. He climbed up in a sycamore tree, Jesus for to see. Zacchaeus was may have been short, but he was a very powerful man. As a matter of fact, he was a chief tax collector. And a chief tax collector didn't really have to collect taxes themselves. They got a percentage of what the other tax collectors were getting. Now, the way it worked is that there was an amount of tax that Rome was asking the people to pay, but then the tax collectors would add on a percentage for themselves. Zacchaeus lived in Jericho. And Jericho was a famous city. You know where the walls fell down. Well, this wasn't that one. Another had been built on top of it by then, and maybe a third one by the time of Jesus. Now, a lot of people followed Jesus around by that time. Zacchaeus didn't think he would have a chance because he was so short to see Jesus. So he found a tree, a sycamore tree, and he climbed up in the sycamore tree so that when Jesus passed by, he could get a good look at him. So Jesus comes down the road and walks under the sycamore tree, and he stops. And he looks up at Zacchaeus, and I've always wondered, why did Jesus stop? I've even wondered if Jesus didn't know that he had an appointment with Zacchaeus. You remember when Jesus went out of his way to Samaria because he had an appointment with a woman at a well? I think Jesus can always feel where there's a possibility of faith. Remember when the woman with an issue of blood said, if I can just touch the fringe of his garment, I'll be healed. And Jesus says to her, your faith has made you well, woman. Maybe Jesus was in Jericho that day just for Zacchaeus. And so Jesus does something remarkable. He calls this tax collector, this person that everyone hated. The crowd hated for sure. The people that lived in the city hated him for sure. And he calls this tax collector down out of a tree. And he says, Zacchaeus, I must go to your house today. The crowd didn't like it very much, and they said, can't he see that this man is a sinner? But there's Jesus for you. He came for those of us that maybe have lost our way, maybe those of us that had the potential for faith to believe that we could be different, that we could change. You know what it says? It says, Zacchaeus rejoiced that Jesus had said he was coming to his house. Do you think that maybe Zacchaeus knew how lost he was? I don't know. How much money do you have to have before it's enough? How much power do you have to have before it's enough? How much hatred do you have to have directed at you before it's enough? I can't imagine that there wasn't a point where Zacchaeus thought, this is not a life that I enjoy anymore. And maybe that's what Jesus saw. Maybe that's what Jesus felt. And the crowd, well, even though the crowd was upset, maybe the crowd couldn't see past their tradition, maybe past some of their doctrine, to see that a man's life could have been totally changed. And so he's down out of the tree. He's face to face with Jesus. But before they even get to Zacchaeus' house, listen to what he says. Behold, Lord, half of my possessions I will give to the poor. And if I have defrauded anyone of anything, I will give back 4 times as much. And Jesus said to him, today salvation has come to this house, because he too is the son of Abraham. For the Son of Man has come to seek and to save that which was lost. There have been times in my life where I felt like I was up a tree and out on a limb. Maybe that's true for you right now. People look really good on the outside. People come to church and they do everything that it looks like they're supposed to. They go to work and everything's fine. But sometimes on the inside, maybe there's some things like maybe we're going on with Zacchaeus, maybe that caused the Lord to stop. I promise you this, that if on the inside you know that you're up a tree and out on a limb, I promise you that Jesus will come to your Jericho and he will stop under your tree and he will invite you down, and face to face, he will empower you to change and to be different. And isn't that what we are really looking for? Isn't that why we signed up to be Christians? He's always going to be calling us to be more